are part of our environment, and trust me, 4x4 vehicles going around following animals in this particular part of the world is very much part of the environment, the same, if not more so, than some of the animals. So it's maybe strange to go and say, oh well, that's not cool because we're humans and it's a car, but that's cool because it's an elephant and a drongo. Because again, it's something that I'm getting more and more big on, is that, you know, we must stop putting ourselves above the rest of other animals. The fact that we figured out a few things technology-wise is fantastic. That's why we can talk to you around the fire from South Africa, Juma here. But we must stop thinking of us as like the outsiders, that we have to continuously be aware of how do we influence things in a natural environment. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways that we should think about how we influence things. But it's not necessarily that wrong for animals to get habituated to us as well, rather than just accepting and allowing us there, but to say, well, these things are part of our environment. Let's see how we interact with them. You know, 50 years ago, they ran away very quickly because they just got killed. An animal saw a human and was too close, it got attacked, so animals learned to leave us alone. But now there's new generations, and as we've learned as a species amongst ourselves that we can get on in various ways, surely there's potential for us to learn that about animals as well, to learn that maybe we can coexist more. You know, maybe there are other ways of living, and that can be learned through behavior. A mother teaches a child how they live, whether it's a human or an animal, and the potential maybe exists for down the line that a lot more animals can live in coexistence with humans rather than in competition like they have.
That's a good point again. I've often heard the comments of people saying that the animals don't appear wild. They tame is a horrible word to use, but they're very confident and comfortable with our presence. So the general experience that people hope for is to see wild animals running all over the place and
charging and
attacking and crazy activity. But yes, 50 years ago, when animals were hunted on a very large scale and poached on a very large scale, that response, that wild response, could maybe be more closely defined as fear, as a larger sense of having a larger sense of fear of our presence. And now, with the conservation ethics and guides ethics over the last 20-30 years, there's new generations of animals who have actually come to learn that, wait a second, this strange shaped animal here, this vehicle, actually isn't a threat. We don't fight them for territory, we don't challenge them for food, we're not aggressive towards them, so we're a neutral presence, and we actually are safe to approach, and that, I think that's the beauty in it. The animals are still extremely wild. That doesn't change at all, but it goes to show that we can develop a stronger bond, and there doesn't need to be that fear that has been traditionally accepted.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's awesome to actually be part of conservation movement like this.
Yeah, evolution of interaction between species even. You know, it's a new way of maybe looking at how we can coexist with other species. Not to go about it too long, we're going to get Mateo out here now, but just to quickly draw that to a point again, Marco, what you made me think about there, and sorry, I'm talking too fast because, like I said, I could sit here now until 12 o'clock and talk, but to use Wonky as an example again, because they are ultimately very intelligent animals, and it's not just because I like elephants, but they are bright. They can figure things out maybe more than others can, and maybe because of that they can be at the forefront of that relationship maybe. Also, there's a whole lot of other history with elephants. But coming back to the how do we as humans habituate to animals is important, because in Wonky's case specifically, he's gotten used to this different vehicle now. It's a little bit different from the other ones, so it's much easier to discern this vehicle from another game drive vehicle as opposed to two different game drive vehicles where you've got different people driving it, different people on the back that might react differently. So he's gotten very used to this one shape, which has got a lot of the time myself or Rexon in it, most of the time, and lately, just because of our times I've worked out, I've been there a lot. So he's gotten used to this vehicle, and then also to the specific voice, which makes a certain sound all the time. I don't know if you've noticed, there's always a specific rumble I make when I approach any of the elephants. And he's now learned that this specific vehicle he can trust to an extent even more, because it behaves the same all the time. With other game drive vehicles, some guides, unfortunately, or whatever reasons, still rev the engines and try and elicit mock charges to try and show the aggression of animals, to create that fear in people. And of course there's a space for that, I guess. But what's happened now is he's now also learned that this specific thing he's interacting with, a human, I'm sure he knows it's a human in there and a vehicle and so on, is behaving in a certain way all the time. That's gained his trust first and his curiosity, and it's something that I should not talk about too much more at the moment. I'm going to try and write something about it if I can get my head around it. But it's been a very interesting progression in the space of a few weeks only, to see how this individual animal has has habituated to us because of our acceptance of him as well. And this goes not only for myself, also for you on the vehicle with us. Alex, even when Alex got you, he was very nervous around elephants because of, again, he had experiences that created that perception for him, and over time that's changed. So in the end, it's down to the individual how we change things, you know, not to get too dramatic about it, but and how we get along with each other as individuals in the species, but also with other species.
No, you're absolutely right, Peter, and I think that's a very important note to end that on is, you know, we all make an effort out here to, especially as the guides and a lot of people in the guiding community, to hold a standard of ethics so that when we approach animals, we create a sense of trust from that animal, and like Peter made mention that sometimes there are people that maybe respond differently. Unfortunately, all it takes is one or two bad characters to create a bad name, you could say, amongst an individual animal. It takes one game drive vehicle with one wrong approach or a few wrong approaches and acting aggressively, and that animal might see all vehicles. Fortunately for the Wild Earth vehicle is we are very unique, and we've been very cautious, and of course loving what we do. The animals understand that our presence is very absolutely non-threatening. But it's very important that every individual out in this environment has the same approach and the same ethics, so you get a much better response and a much better development in this whole goal to live in harmony with these animals. But I think I'm going to sign off for the evening and leave you with Peter for just a few seconds and go grab Matteo. I believe there's some stuff that you guys were going to chat about.
Yeah, we'll just say a quick hello and get Matteo around the fire.
Yeah.
Hardly signing off, Marco. You're just going to go over there.
Yeah, but it's been great sitting around with you, Peter, and chatting again, as always, and I'm sure this conversation is going to carry on for a couple of hours afterwards. But great sitting around with everyone. It's always nice to have everyone on the other side there. And just from my side, thanks for all the comments during the week and all the messages welcoming me back. It's good to be back with the team. We've got a good 6 weeks ahead now to enjoy ourselves out over here. So yeah, Matteo. There we go.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hi, Peter.
Good, man. Second time around the fire.
I'm still not that much comfortable in front of it.
Eventually just forget about the camera and just realize that there's people sitting around and they're interested in what you've got to say. So over to you for now.
Yeah, I think for the first time I would like, in the first instance, I'd just like to thank everyone who has been responding to the blog that we did just now. We have huge responses in terms of people writing back and commenting on the blog. I think we have touched a lot of our audiences, and I'm beginning to understand really the type of relationship that we share, which everyone around here, you know, embrace. And I think that's very important. That's why I really want to say thank you to everybody who has been commenting on the blog.
Matteo, if I can ask you a question, and please just sort of take it any direction you want to, but what have you learned so far in terms of the relationship between people sitting there watching, not even watching us at the moment, partaking, even though we will have a more direct conversation with us, but what have you learned up to now that you maybe didn't expect when you got here?